Hello folks, and welcome to another video by CloudVersity. My name is Stefan, and today's topic actually got requested from someone from our little community. So the question was, how do I enable HTTPS for my website or my API, whatever application is running on your Kubernetes cluster? And a little theory maybe beforehand, you may have heard about SSL, so the Secure Socket Layer Protocol, which is now outdated. So there's a new one. It's called TLS. It's a Transport Layer Security Protocol. And these protocols actually add a security layer on top of your HTTP connection. So they wrap around the HTTP connection, and therefore the data which is exchanged between the server and the client is then secured. So there's a lot of back and forth in the beginning if a client connects to your server and want to establish the connection initially. But what the server needs to enable HTTPS in the first place is the server needs to have a certificate. If it's a non-trust certificate, you will end up with a warning page. I mean, I think you saw this at least once in your life, like a warning certificate is not trusted. And if it's a good certificate, a valid certificate, then you will end up without any warning, and you will have like a green lock in the top left corner of your browser. I think for Chrome it's actually gray right now, but whatever. And now you could maybe ask, why do I need an HTTPS connection? Certificates sounds super complicated. I will stick with HTTP. So yes, maybe there's a complexity layer which is added because you want to use certificates, but HTTP is not best practice anymore. So if you want to use something in production, or even not in production, nowadays you're kind of forced to use HTTPS just to secure the connection between. I mean, think of like a man-in-the-middle attack. Someone, some intruder sits in the middle of the client and the server. And now everything which is sent between them, passwords, username, banking data, API data, everything is just in plain text. And what HTTPS does is that the traffic in between is encrypted. And so the intruder, even if he can listen to the traffic in between, it's encrypted, and he cannot decrypt this in time. There's no way. So by using HTTPS, you actually protect privacy, security, and the integrity of your website or your API, your application on your cluster, or even just a plain web server. And what we want to achieve in this tutorial is that we want to obtain a valid certificate for our application. It's a demo application we will run on our K3S cluster by using Linode again. So we will spawn the VM in by using the Linode cloud provider. We will install Nginx as an ingress controller. Then we will install Cert-Manager or Certificate Manager on top of this, so as an add-on. And then we can obtain valid certificates for our domain by using the non-profit certificate authority called LetsEncrypt. If this sounds interesting to you and you are thrilled to see more content like this, then you should definitely consider to smash the like and subscribe button right now down below, and follow me on social media like Instagram and Twitter so you don't miss any of the upcoming content. And of course, help the channel grow. I would say grab a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, depending on the hour you're watching this video, and let me walk you through today's topic after a small intro. See you in a second. Welcome back. So if you want to follow along, then you need to set up a K3S cluster on your own and the Nginx as an ingress controller. If you don't know how to do this, no worries. As I said in the beginning, in the intro, I did already a video about this. It will be linked in the top right corner right now in this video, and it will be in the video description down below. So you can go there first, set up the cluster, and then you can come back and can follow along. Or if you don't want to follow along and just want to watch the video, of course, you can just stay here and watch the hands-on tutorial. Okay, we have our cluster set up. We have our Nginx ingress controller, as you can see here in the top right corner of my page, of my screen. And you can see that I have Linode, a VM, by using the Linode cloud provider already set up. And I just installed K3S onto it. What we also need is this little repository here. So this will be also linked in the video description down below. And you will find all resources I will use in this video in this GitLab repository. So you can just clone it and then use it on your own and you will be fine. On top of this, we need to install the certificate manager. This certificate manager is kind of an add-on like the Nginx ingress controller. And we need this to communicate with a provider which will give us our certificate we will request. So we want to obtain a certificate, so we need to do some configuration work. We will configure Cert-Manager to speak with LetsEncrypt. LetsEncrypt is a non-profit certificate authority, and they offer you different ways to obtain certificates for your domains. Of course, what do you need to do actually to get a valid certificate is that you need to prove that you are the owner of that domain, that you are the owner of the server and the domain you want to obtain the certificate for. And there is like a tool, an add-on for this. It's the Cert-Manager. And we will use this in our K3S cluster so that we can communicate with LetsEncrypt, and then we get our certificate. I will show you how we do this, and I will show you also how you can use that certificate you then obtained for your applications. So first of all, we need to have a running application, right? So I will just go ahead and install a demo application. For the demo application, either you already have a demo application, then you don't need to do this. Otherwise, you can clone the repository, and then you need to apply the deployment and the service YAML as well as the ingress YAML. In the ingress YAML, we will make a small change, but afterwards you will have a running application, demo application on your cluster. So I will go ahead and say kubectl apply -f, and we'll create the deployment YAML. Okay, good. This will spawn a demo application from Rancher. We will see this in a second. We'll do the same for the service. There's nothing special about this. So it's really a deployment which has 3 replicas. And we can also take a look at this. You will see that there's nothing special in here. So it's just 3 replicas of this demo application here. And for the service part, it's as well a really easy service YAML. It's just listening on port 80 and will forward the traffic it receives to port 8080. And last but not least, we need to apply the ingress YAML. But first, we need to take a look at this, the ingress YAML. And you will see that here are some comments. So we need to insert our IP address, and there's an extended, or the IP address is extended by .nib.io. What is this provider doing? We need to obtain certificates. We need to have a valid DNS, or from the perspective of Kubernetes, we need to have a valid DNS. So maybe if you want to follow along, you only have the IP address. Maybe you also have a domain, like I do have the domain cloudversity.com. I could point it to the IP address. This would also work. But for demo use cases, You will most likely just have an IP address, and those providers like nip.io, xip.io, and I think traffic.io, what they will do is you will go to their website, or you will go to their domain and with your IP address as subdomain, and they will just redirect the traffic they receive to the IP address in the subdomain. So they will help you to generate an IP address at the end, and you don't need to worry about this. So nice providers out there who offer great services for free. I really like this. So all we have to do is we need to grab our IP address here from our K3S cluster and put it into here, yeah, in the placeholder. The comments above, we can ignore them for now, but they will be important as soon as we have certificates. Okay, let's save this and apply this file. Okay, this is also applied. So what we can do now is we can open, actually we can open this already with HTTPS, our ip.nip.io, and we should see something. Okay, we got a not secure warning. Okay, click on advanced, we'll proceed. And we have our demo application running. So it's just load balancing between the 3 replicas of our image. You can see this, you can see this here by looking at the 3 cows. One of them is always like dark blue, and then it's, or light blue, and it's changing because it's load balancing between the 3 pods. Whatever, we received a warning, and we can take a look at the certificate. The certificate here is issued to Kubernetes ingress controller fake certificate. And obviously, this is not what we want. If you want to have your API exposed to the World Wide Web, to your clients, or you want to have your own website, you don't want to end up with invalid certificates and certificate warnings. And we want to change this, yeah? So that's our goal of this video. And I will just make a screenshot of this so we can take a look at this later on. Okay, so next step, as already mentioned, is we need to install the certificate manager. That's super easy. It's also linked in the video description, or you find it in the README of the repository. Is you grab this one, Cert-Manager IO docs installation, and then just grab the first line you will be offered for a static install, copy paste it here, hit enter, and this may take like 30 seconds or something. Or not, it only took 5. So we have the certificate manager installed. And now we need to configure the certificate manager that it can communicate with LetsEncrypt. That's the first step. And for the first step, we have our issuers we need to define. I have 2 of them. One is a production issuer and one is the staging issuer. More on that in a second. Let's take a look at the cluster issuer first. First of all, with the certificate manager, we installed some custom resources in our Kubernetes cluster. And now we need to install, we need to create a cluster issuer or just a plain issuer. It's dependent if you want to have them accessible through all your namespaces or just limit to one namespace in your Kubernetes cluster. So we will take the cluster issuer. And then there's 2 important parts. One part is the ACME part. ACME is the protocol which is used to obtain certificates. And you need to provide something there. You need to provide the server which will actually give you the certificate, where you can request it, where you make the exchanges which are important that you at the end up with a valid certificate. I will not go too much into detail here because there's like million pages in the World Wide Web who will explain how you can obtain certificates in a theory-based. This is more like a hands-on tutorial, but maybe I will make kind of a short theory video about this. Yeah, maybe in a week or something, so I can link this here as well. So we will link to, or we will point to a server from LetsEncrypt, and that's the staging server. You need to put in an email address. Something like example.com will not work. So put in your real email address if it's a production server, because if your certificate is about to because if your certificate is about to expire, then you will receive an email as well. And those information will be stored in a secret. This is the name of the secret. And then there's the important part of the solvers. So what is a solver? Certificate manager, the issuer, will listen to all ingresses of class Nginx, because we have an Nginx controller. It makes sense that it listens to all ingresses which have the ingress class Nginx. And as a solver, we use HTTP 01. This is a challenge, called a challenge. A challenge which is necessary to prove that you are the owner of the domain and the owner of the server. There's also a DNS challenge, which is a little bit more complicated, and you can almost do the same with both, but you are limited in the HTTP challenge. You cannot get certificates with a wildcard. So if you want to have something like, if you want to have a valid certificate for star.example.com, for example, this can only be done if you have, if you use the DNS challenge. But this is not part of this video, maybe like an extended one in the future, but I will use the HTTP challenge, where you need to point either exactly to example.com or foo.example.com or bar.example.com, something like this. Okay, so let us insert our email here. I know. That will be info at CloudVersity.com. Save it, and we will do the same for the cluster issuer production. Oops, production YAML. And as you can see, there is a difference in the server URL. Here's no staging, yeah, like here. Why is that? You have two different endpoints for LetsEncrypt. One is staging. You will get a certificate, which will also give you a warning, but it's actually issued for your domain. And the other one is a production certificate, which will leave or give you the gray log on top of the page or in the top left corner. Valid certificate, no warning at all fine. So why don't we use the production one all the time? Because it's a non-profit organization, so LetsEncrypt is a non-profit organization, you are limited for the production API to obtain, I think, like 5 or maybe 10 certificates per day. And if you mess up your configuration, you can reach that limit pretty fast, and you don't want to run into this limit if you are really a production user. So if you have an application which is production ready, because ending up with a invalid certificate is kind of, it's not that good. Let's put it this way. Okay, so we set both configurations up, a production one and a staging one. Okay, so we can apply them. Oops. Cluster issuer staging, and we can do the same with cluster issuer and then production. We can also check if they are available by kubectl get cluster issuer. And both of them are true. So this worked. Our configuration seems to be good. So the next step is to actually grab a certificate. For this, we also need, again, to apply a resource. The resource, again, is two of them are in the repository. One is a staging one production one. And if we take a look here, it does not look complicated. So it's a certificate we want to obtain. We need to specify a secret name for this. The secret will store the private key and the public key. That's like a TLS or certificate works for web servers. You need both of them. And then there's if a user jumps to your or wants to connect to your server, there's an exchange of their public key and this public key, and then there's a secure connection afterwards. So that's like really broken down to one sentence. There's a lot of exchanging stuff at the beginning, but whatever, in this secret there's a TLS key and the public one and the private one, and we need to reference our issuer we just configured. So for the staging certificate, we obviously reference our LetsEncrypt staging issuer. Yeah, and as you can see here, common name is necessary and DNS name. So we need to fill this out. Staging. We need to fill this out, and this is just our IP address. I will copy this from here. And here. And this is a list. So if you have multiple domains or multiple subdomains, you can list them all in this certificate here. So there's not necessary that you need to create a certificate for each subdomain, but you need to list them here that you can obtain a certificate maybe for this domain, but with multiple subdomains. Yeah, easy as that. So we will put this here, and we need to do this again for the production one. So change this here and here as well. Okay. And then, last but not least, we need to apply them. Cube control apply -f certificate, staging YAML, and production YAML. Let's check if this worked. Cube control get certificates. Both are false right now. So let's wait a second. Sometimes it just takes seconds. Sometimes it takes a minute. It took like a minute for the staging certificate, but the bad news are that for the production one, it tells me that we exceeded the rate limit for the domain nip.io. So that's exactly what I pointed out in like 3 to 5 minutes ago in this video. If you use domains which can be used from everyone, like nip.io, then there will be a rate limiting from LetsEncrypt. If you have your own domain, you won't run into this issue. What we can do now, or what will I try to do is, I will try to edit this certificate, and I will use another provider like LetsEncrypt, like nip.io, but another provider would be traffic.me. Let's see if we can get a valid certificate for this one. Hey, that worked. So there's no rate limit right now for the traffic.me domain, which is exactly the same like nip.io, just another ending of your domain. And we received a certificate for this one. So little hiccup, but not everything works like a charm in the DevOps world, right? So just keep that in mind. And if you use, as I said, your own domain, you won't run into this issue that fast. Now we have our certificates, as you can see here. We have staging one, which is true, and the production one, which is also true. So what we need to do next, or as a final step, because our demo application is still running on nip.io with the invalid certificate. So I will go back, and we have our ingress resource here. And I pointed out at the beginning that we need to make some changes here to actually make use of our certificates we just got. So I will kubectl edit our ingress with the name Rancher Demo. And let's see, it's not here anymore, so we need to copy paste this in again. Paste. Okay. So we don't need this line here. And we don't need this line and this line's just commentary. This. This looks good. Okay, so what we do here is we enable TLS for our ingress resource. Obviously, we need to fill in our IP address again. And then, because we want to have TLS, we need to define the host and the secret name. And as secret name, we will use our staging certificate first. Yeah. So this will be the first one. So I will save, oops, I will save this. Okay. And if I refresh the page here from our demo application and we go to certificate, okay, it's still the old one. I think that's a Chrome thing because Chrome also caches certificates. So I will just open an incognito tab here. And we will use HTTPS and nip.io. It is still a warning page. There is still a warning page. But the difference now is that the certificate is actually issued to our domain. So that's the main difference. It's almost a valid one. It is at least issued to our domain, but it's still invalid for the browser. So it's not fully proven certificate. But at the moment, you would have an HTTPS connection already. Yeah, you can see this here in front. There is the HTTPS, which is important. Okay, and now we want to use the production certificate. And to do so, we need to edit our ingress again. Yeah, we need to go in here and we'll say, okay, we don't want to use the secret for staging, and we want to use the production one. And of course, and that's the little difference now, we need to change this also to traffic.me because we issued the production certificate because of the rate limit for traffic.me and not nip.io. So keep that in mind, because this video didn't work like so flawlessly like it should have been. Okay, save this as well. And if we open this page again, but this time with traffic.me, we don't have a warning page. And we have a gray, or if you use Firefox, there will be a green lock in the left side of your domain. It is HTTPS, as you can see here, nothing is red. And if we click on the certificate, then it's a valid one. It's issued by R3, which is a certificate authority which is trusted worldwide. And it's issued to our domain with the ending traffic.me this time, not nip.io. So, success, we did it, yeah? Everything worked. Okay, we're done. So if this video helped you to understand how you can obtain certificates in a K3S cluster on your own, let me know in the comments down below. And if it didn't help at all and there are some blind spots I did not cover, please let me know as well, because then I can cover them in one of the next videos. And of course, if you really liked the video, please hit the like and subscribe button down below and follow me in the social media stuff. And if you have any requests regarding the next video and the topic of the next video, then let me know in the comments down below, please, as well. Yeah. Have a good day.